Hello, welcome to another Cook With Me Gluten-Free. I'm Robin. Thank you so much for joining me. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today we are going to make gluten-free broccoli casserole. You know, casseroles are great to take to potlucks. They're also very popular over the holidays. Broccoli casserole happens to be one of my favorites, but every time I go somewhere, it's not gluten-free. So I am going to be using some things for the very first time, or at least one thing for the very first time. I chose a different brand of breadcrumbs. I've used the Kroger brand, and I have used I believe it's 4C. I never loved them. I mean, the broccoli casserole still tastes good, and I still get compliments on it, but this one is supposed to be outstanding. Let's take a look at our ingredients. Just a word of warning, I don't actually have a written recipe for my broccoli casserole. Honestly, I just season and go. So we are going to use 3 cans of cream of mushroom soup, 1 cup of milk. I am using 2% milk today. I have 2 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of pepper. I'll explain why later, why it's separated. And then I've got some McCormick's garlic powder. This is not measured out. I know some people are sensitive to garlic, so I don't have a specific amount, but I will season the broccoli with that. And I am using onion soup mix from Kroger. Here's my disclaimer. Kroger says this has no gluten-containing ingredients, but as we know, we need to be careful. So please use your best judgment. You certainly can create your own onion soup mix, but for me, I have not had any sensitivities to the Kroger brand. Again, it does not have any gluten-containing ingredients per their website. And I have a stick of melted butter here. And then, trying for the first time, the Katz gluten-free seasoned breadcrumbs. I've read really good things about this, so hopefully it comes out great because I am feeding a bunch of people today. I have one little pan that we're going to prepare for our tasting, and then I've got the big pan for our gathering today. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The reason I have 2 things of salt and pepper. Number 1, I like to sprinkle my broccoli with salt and pepper before I add in the cream of mushroom soup. Now, you certainly don't have to use as much salt as I do, but I like things to be well seasoned. So once this is all on, I'm going to go back in with the pepper and do the same thing. Teaspoon of pepper. Just give it a sprinkle right on top. And once this is all on, we're going to go in with the melted butter. And we're going to drizzle a little bit of melted butter over the actual broccoli. We're going to save the rest of it for our topping. But that's why I melt it in a measuring cup, because I like to do just a little drizzle. That way there's some butter in the bottom of the pan, and that broccoli gets all that butter. Again, just a drizzle. We're saving the rest because we're going to put the rest on the topping. There we go. Just a little bit. Now, the broccoli that I used is broccoli florets. I have a large bag, but florets only. These are not the pieces and parts. Now that that's in, I'm going in with my garlic powder, and I'm just sprinkling, just a little bit, right on top of that butter. I don't know how much. You may not want it at all, and this is your opportunity to sprinkle whatever you want on top of the broccoli. Now, as I mentioned, 3 cans of cream of mushroom soup. I've already put it in my bowl, and I'm going to start adding in my milk into the cream of mushroom soup, and once it's mixed in, I will be back. As I mentioned, this is my own recipe, and I guesstimated a cup of milk, but this is not quite loose enough for me. I like it to be a bit looser than that. So I have poured myself another half cup of milk here. Read the comments. The exact recipe will be in the comments, I promise. And I'm going to add a little more milk to loosen this up. We'll see if it's the whole half cup. Typically what I do is just have the container of milk right beside me, and I just go for it. Okay. Now, of course, you know that onion soup mix already has salt in it, so you want to be careful. I am going to use the rest of that, so cup and a half of milk. Cup and a half of milk. Check the comments. I'm going to get this is the right consistency for me. Now I'm going to add in that black pepper. I'm going to add in that salt. I did not use all of the salt. I used probably a half a teaspoon. Now it's time to add in the onion soup mix. Here's where this gets a little tricky. I use a pack and a half for this size serving. So I'll put in this whole pack. I know with onion soup mix, it's hard to get to measure out what a half a pack is. So you're really going to have to guess on that. Here's what we're looking like so far. Of course, you also have cheese. I did not have the cheese out. It is in the refrigerator. I will grab that and show you what brand of cheese I like to use. Now, of course, you use any cheese you prefer. Okay, so this is where I'm going in with a half a pack. What I typically do is try to really shake the seasonings towards the top so I can kind of guesstimate what a half a pack is. Okay. All right. Because it's got the little onion bits in there, so I kind of squeeze it and then just guess. There we go. I'm guessing, and I will save that for another dish or recipe. I'm going to get this all stirred together. I will grab the cheese and we will add the cheese to the broccoli and add in our cream of mushroom. Almost done. I am going to be using a combination of two cheeses. I am going to be using extra sharp cheddar Sargento and then regular sharp cheddar. This is the fancy shredded. This is not my favorite. I prefer the traditional cut, but you know what it's like around the holidays. It's hard to get what you want. So I will start with our cream of mushroom. And I have this pour bowl and I go right over the top. Just in a line like this. Make sure everything is nice and covered. And some of that stuff can stick to the bottom, so make sure you're kind of stirring. I'm going to put one in our little one here. There we go. Get that nice and covered. You may have some left over, but not enough to not use 3 cans. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this one off to the side. Okay, let's see what we've got. I do move it around in the pan just to make sure that everything has gotten covered. I thaw my broccoli before I put it in the pan. You can let it hit the microwave for a little bit. I prefer to let it just thaw room temperature. That way it's not too watery. I do need a little bit more in here in some spots. I just spoon it on at this point just so I can get the precision. And I'll show you how covered this is. I need a little more over here. I can tell. Let's get that in there. Got the butter at the bottom. Mine does have a little bit of water at the bottom just because the broccoli was finishing its thaw. That's not ideal. You want to try to get it as dry as possible, but it'll still be good. All right, I'm going to add a little more to this, and that should do it. There we go. So you still want to be able to see the broccoli through the top. See that? You can still see the broccoli through the top. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the fancy shredded cheese first. Let me slide this one to the side. We're only going to do the baby one for the camera. Okay, so I've got some fancy shredded cheese. Make sure your hands are clean. That's just a little bit. And then I'm going to go in with the extra sharp for that flavor. There we go. I love to mix it up. It gives it a great bite. All right, so there's our cheese, and you can still see that you can see the broccoli through. Next, we're going to add on our breadcrumbs. Again, we're using the Katz brand, gluten-free, seasoned breadcrumbs, and I just tore a little corner so that I can just sprinkle it right on. I smelled it. It smells great. I hope it's a hit with my guest. Now, I set my oven to 350. And I keep this in roughly, watch it because you want to make sure it's brown because pretty much everything is cooked, right? You don't need to have any baking time per se, but you want everything to come together. You want it to bubble. You want your crust to be browned on top. I do take the time to kind of spread out my breadcrumbs. Make sure that nothing is too thick in any areas. You should be able to kind of see your cheese through the top of that. I don't know if you can see that. Now you'll go in with your butter, your melted butter, and sprinkle it drizzle it, I should say, right on top. There's not a specific amount, remember. This is just me going in. But usually about 35 to 45 minutes. I would set your timer to 35 minutes and take a look at it. But we'll give this a taste when it comes out of the oven. Broccoli casserole for the win. You got to see this. Oh, it smells so good. Let's give this a taste. Now, I kept this in the oven right at 45 minutes. I am trying the Katz breadcrumbs for the first time. So I have to admit, I'm a little nervous because I am serving this today to my guest. So I hope it is giving something good. All right, this has been sitting for about 5 minutes, but it is still smoking hot. Wow, it smells so good. I don't want to burn myself, sorry. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. That sharp cheddar. I mean, it really sets things off. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. This is by far my favorite vegetable casserole. I highly recommend this, and I highly recommend you do half and half on the sharp and extra sharp cheddar. You don't have to, but I don't know. It just gives it an extra edge. Mm, that is so good. And the Katz breadcrumbs. Congratulations, Katz. You've done a phenomenal job. These taste very much like the authentic, not that our food's not authentic, but the regular breadcrumbs that you would buy in the store. I think it's Progresso or the 4C brand. Very, very good. Thank you so much for joining me on another Cook With Me Gluten Free. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below to let me know what you'd like me to make or try. I will see you next time.